My name is James Kleinschmidt. I'm the younger son of Clarence Kleinschmidt. He was the POW in World War II. We're here to do a documentation on him and get some history.
Was your father drafted into the United States Army?
He was drafted in 1942. He had been married for a short time. He was 34 years old when he got drafted, and he was eager to go, but his wife Vera was already with child, and it was a hard leave, but he decided that he would go. My dad actually moved through the ranks pretty fast. He went to basic training, then he went to Camp Shelby. He went to Camp Shelby as a PFC, and by the time he got out of Camp Shelby ready to go over to Africa, he was a sergeant.
Tell me about your father when he entered into North Africa.
He joined up with the new 337 Infantry Division, and they moved to North Africa, where he spent some time there in the African theater. Then they moved to Italy on the theater there, and then he was captured somewhere outside of Rome.
After he was captured, where did they take him?
They moved him to Stalag VII A, where he was processed, and they moved him to Stalag III B. From there, he moved to another one. I'm not sure exactly where that was at.
Moved him because of the Russians were invading Germany in that particular area. So they were trying to get the prisoners, POWs, away from the Russians. Did Clarence ever talk about the conditions in the concentration camps?
Yes, he talked quite intensely about that. The things that they had, the food was not bad. He said one time that once you got by the bugs, the bread wasn't too bad. It was marginal at best, though. What he always wanted from the boxes that people sent to him, he always wanted candy because he liked the sweets. But it kind of reflected it after Christmas time when he was home when I was growing up as a child. He always had candy everywhere at Christmas time. So he had told his wife, Vera, that once he got home, that he said, we may never have anything, but he said he would never go hungry again.
When he ate food when he came back home, did he mix his food together or did he separate the food?
He always separated his food. He did not want anything mixed together. He did not like stews, soups, and stuff like that. He wanted everything itemized, separate, and everything. It was just too much of a reminder of what the way they fed him over there.
Tell me about the Bible that he brought home with him.
I never knew Dad to be a religious person, although I don't think he was not a non-believer. When we went through his stuff that he brought home as I grew up, he had brought this Bible home with him, and with the Stalag III B stamped on the inside. He apparently had carried this with him through the marches and stuff, and he kept it in very good condition. I think he kept it as a heartwarming safety net of some kind. I think that we all do that. I did the same thing when I was in service.
Tell me about the wood carving that he brought back with him.
There was a French soldier in prison with him somewhere along the line that had carved this carving of a French soldier. It's very detailed and everything. It was all carved by hand, and some way or other he gifted that to my dad, and my dad protected that and brought it home, and I have it in my possession on display.
Your father kept a little notebook. What did he write in that notebook while he was in prison camp?
One of the things that's outstanding in this notebook is the fact that it's a barter system sort of thing. It tells how many cigarettes it takes to buy an item. For example, one cake of soap was 5 cigarettes. A can of meat and beans was 35 cigarettes. And there's quite a list of things like that. But cigarettes, everybody had them, everybody wanted them. So it was actually, the cigarettes are actually the monetary support or way of paying for stuff.
When did your father tell you about him being a prisoner?
I think I realized it over time when I was probably in my early teens. My father had started, was a big supporter of the VFW post in Plainville, and he was a service officer for years and years and years. And people used to come out almost daily to work, have him help them with claims and stuff. And I think I grasped onto the point through conversation, listened to them and everything. I always pretty much sat close just to hear their stories. And I think at that time I really started to realize what had happened.
Did you talk with any of your students at Plainville High School ever about your father being a prisoner of war?
I don't recall of ever talking to any of them. Of course, we were growing up in their own age and stuff, and we were creating our own futures and stuff, and we just never talked about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you talk with your children about your father's experience?
I have intensively talked to all my kids about it, and they realize it, and I don't know where if they understood the importance of what he was doing, but yes, I have had conversations with all my kids.
When your father was in prison camp, when he was in northern Africa, he wrote several letters back home to his wife. What were in those letters?
There were things that he talked about being in a foxhole and things like that. He also mentioned that if it wasn't for the sounds of war, that you would never know there was anything going on because of all the beauty, the flowers, and things surrounding him, that war just basically covered it up and hid it.
When Clarence went overseas, how much did he weigh? And when he came home out of prison camp, how much did he weigh?
He always said he weighed 195 pounds when he was overseas. He was 6'1", and he would weigh 125 pounds when he got home after a little over 11 months of being a POW. We do have a picture of that. Some of the things that on the lighter side, he always talked about things that they would do while they were in prison, because the barracks were all built up on stilts, and they would have the prisoners would have a guard watching, and when the German guards would sneak in at night and they would crawl underneath to listen to see if they were planning any escapes or anything, everybody in the barracks would go over there and jump up and down on the floor and raise heck with them. If there was an air raid close by, they could tell ahead before it ever happened that the Dobermans that they used for guard dogs they would indicate something was going on, so the prisoner would know that something was going to happen close by. Hopefully not on the concentration camp itself. And they even had one man that actually built a crystal radio and had it hidden in the bottom of a canteen cup, so they could get news from wherever they could pick it up off the airways. One thing that I found out that when Dad was liberated, they were putting them on trains and shipping them out. And through one of the train depots, there was a Louis Becker and a Carl Tokus there, and they found my dad on the train, being so skinny and everything. They packed him full of his what they call a blouse or shirt, they packed it full of food and stuff so he'd have stuff to eat on while he was in transit. I actually found out this story the other day just from a relative of Tokas's. And then after that, when they finally got back to the States, they shipped him to Hot Springs, Arkansas for roughly 60 days for an R&R to get him reoriented and get his health back in condition and stuff before they sent him home.
At what age did Clarence pass?
He was 94 years and approximately 4 months of age when he passed away. He had been pretty good health most all of his life. He had had some back issues from time to time because he had upset a prison guard one time, and the prison guard hit him in the lower back with the rifle butt. Otherwise, he was pretty good shape. He was a hardworking man and very proud man.
Tell me a little bit about his funeral.
My dad's #1 request that he be buried in his uniform, and we honored that request. He had kept it it was in good condition, and everything still had all the medals on it. And he was a very patriotic man. He was very proud of what he did, serving his country. And he supported my brother and I when we were in the service. And that was his request, that he be buried next to his wife Vera in his uniform. And we honored that request.